Eu não queria falar não, mas eu sou Daniel Filho, eu também sou um Mozilla. Eu ajudo no time de compatibilidade web do Firefox OS. É muito legal. Eu recomendo que todo mundo se envolva com isso. Bem bacana. Bom, voltando para as palestras agora. Eu queria chamar aqui no palco. Eu não vou falar, é um cara tal, vocês já sabem que eu vou falar isso, então eu não vou falar mais. Yehuda Katz, por favor.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and it's really we are really glad, and it's an honor to have you here. Okay, Yehuda, I know you work with something called TC39, which is something with absurdly relevant for JavaScript developers and community.
So, yeah.
I would like you to tell us a little bit what it is. What is your role in there? What do you guys do? What do you discuss? Please.
So TC39 means Technical Committee 39, which just means that it's the 39th committee that was created by the ECMA Standards Group, which is, I guess, famous for things like, I don't know, not a lot of other things. Some Microsoft things. Oh, they're a sponsor, sorry. So anyway, so TC39 is the technical committee that makes JavaScript. I guess it's been through a lot. More recently, something that I've worked really hard on that I think I've been reasonably effective at is getting a lot more people like us, JavaScript developers, on the committee. So when I joined, I was basically the first full-time JavaScript developer that was also representing people on the committee. But now there's a lot. There's a bunch of people from Yahoo and Facebook and occasionally people from Google that work on that basically write JavaScript for a living. And I think that's had a really big impact on sort of the way the committee makes JavaScript. So when I joined, even up until now, the ES6 spec, which is the next version of JavaScript, has basically been ongoing. I've been on the committee for like 3 years. It started before I joined and it still isn't finished yet. And that obviously is no good. I don't think anybody wants to wait that long for new features. But as of ES7, basically once the current spec is done, and even before that, we've switched to a sort of feature-by-feature basis. So now things like object.observe, which you've heard about earlier, those features are actually going through their own process on a feature-by-feature basis. And as a feature gets stabilized and gets implemented by browsers, it can basically be considered stable all on its own without the rest of the whole spec. So when people talk about ES6, I think it's somewhat reasonable to ask the question, like, is ES6 done? When will it be in browsers, et cetera? But for ES7, I think it's probably best to think about individual features like async function or object.observe or new math types, so things like integers, real integers. It's best to think about those features on their own because there's really, ES7 is basically just a formality. Every year or so we'll we'll put a rubber stamp on all the features that actually finished that year. But it's better to look at the individual features. And I think someone presented earlier, there's a website you can go to now. It's actually on GitHub. So you can go to github.com/tc39/ES something. I don't remember. But one of the repos there just has a table of all the features that we're working on and how far along in the process they are. So I guess what I would recommend, number one, is more people should get involved in the process. The more web developers there are, the better, I think. But also, if you're interested in following along and just like seeing what's up, like what's happening, definitely follow along feature by feature. Don't sort of lump it all together and think that it's like this huge ES7 thing.
Literally discussing the future, right? That's great.
Yes.
Nice. And you are very known for being involved with a lot of projects like Rails, jQuery, Ember itself, and Rust language, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and you also have Tilde, and you work as a consultant. And how come? How do you manage it? And what are your like motivations on being on all of that projects?
Sure. So I guess my main motivation in life is to have an impact, which probably some, but not everyone here probably resonates with. And sort of what I realized early on is that open source is a really powerful way to actually affect a lot of people. And another thing that I also realized is that to some degree, there's a lot of projects where simply being around and sort of showing the way and creating a starting point for an idea is often enough to get a community to rally around and help get it over the finish line. So a lot of the things that I do in general are just, there may be some idea that I have, like, for example, you talked about Rust, so I work on the Cargo Package Manager now, which is the package manager for Rust. And really my goal there, I'm working for Mozilla for about 6 months. My goal there is not necessarily to be working on Cargo for the rest of my life. My goal is to spend 6 months getting something stable and working out there, basically proving out the idea, and then building a community that can help take it forward. And I think that's in general. So I guess that's really the answer to the question is how do I work on so many things? I don't really work on that many things at any given point. I mostly try to figure out ways to bootstrap something. And I usually stick around for an extremely long time to continue to provide advice, and in some cases, like Ember, continue to do implementation work. But largely, my life is building communities around ideas and not necessarily around being like the one-man show and all these things. I think some people can do it, but then when you run out of energy, it's basically game over. So.
Nice. Now that you just mentioned Ember, I'm curious to see how it is a day in life of an Ember.js developer, so I would like to hear that. So, Pessoal, Yehuda, palmas para ele. Obrigado.